I'm going to buy. Number one, it's a great product, as good as it gets. And number two, because this man has devoted his energy and his life to doing this. I think he's been treated very unfairly by a very small group of people. There's nobody like this, and he shouldn't be penalized.
Thank the president for his support. This means a lot. And also thank everyone out there who is supporting Tesla. It's really terrible that there's so much violence being perpetrated against people at Tesla, Tesla supporters, Tesla owners, Tesla stores. These are innocent people who've done nothing wrong.
So I have a lot of information to put into price.
Yeah.
I want to make a good deal here. You know, I do notice this. They have one, which is $35,000, which is pretty low. What is that all about?
Yeah.
The one I like is that one.
And how does this work?
And I want that same color.
Are you going to put down a credit card? Elon, would you take a personal check from the president?
I do it the old I give checks. Sure. I like checks.
I think his credit's good.
Do you still have access?
You know, I like a check better than this modern system of all of a sudden there's money in your account, nobody knows.
In fact, only by tackling the waste and fraud in entitlements like Social Security, Medicare, can we actually preserve those programs for the future.
Because labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. You know, I've stuck up for the NFL. I've stuck up for a lot of American companies and other companies, but a very big favor for the NFL. I do favors for all. When you heard an American company, especially a company like this, supplies so many jobs, when you do that, those people are going to go through a big problem when we catch them. And we have we get a lot of cameras up. We already know who some of them are, and we're going to catch them. And let me tell you, you do it to Tesla and you do it to any. We already know who some of them are, and we're going to catch them. And let me tell you, you do it to Tesla and you do it to any. We already know who some of them are, and we're going to catch them. And let me tell you, you do it to
I
Tesla.
still hear him.
I know.
Where's that coming from?
It's a nightmare for you. He can't go. He doesn't go away.
I still hear him.
Where's
Where's that coming from?
L.
Where is that coming from? Why is he?
I don't know.
Where's that coming from?
It's so weird.
Where is that coming from? Why is he?
I don't know.
Is somebody's phone on?
It's the story of our lives.
It really is. Is somebody's phone on?
It's the story of our lives.
It really is. Hello.
I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna let's.
Oh, it's better. Julie disappeared.
Oh, it was Julie. It was Julie.
It was Julie.
Welcome to Over It, guys. We're over all of this.
Over all the technology shit. I mean, Donald Trump's playing on a loop in my freaking head.
What the hell is that?
All right, I don't even know. Can we just
Listen.
say co-presidents Beavis and Butthead? That's where we are. They literally look like Beavis and Mother effing Butthead. What in the literal goddamn fuck is happening?
Guys, it's going to be a fun-filled hour of Over It because there's a lot of shit that we're over this week. And coming in with that display of absolute tacky infomercial Hatch Act violation bullshit yesterday on the South Lawn of the White House, I think is a good starting off point for this hour. I'm Tara Setmayer. We've got JoJo from Jers, Joanne Carducci, Michelle Kinney, and Julie Roginski will be joining us after she figures out what was happening with her technical difficulties, but Julie will be with us soon. Welcome everybody to our weekly show Over It that we do here on Wednesdays, because we just need to talk about this kind of stuff. It's just a lot. Michelle, you are going to start us off this week because that was your supercut. You and I were back and forth about this yesterday, like what in the actual hell is that? And so we're going to have you start off with Over It and we will get into the rest of the hour. And as everybody gets settled in. Hi, Julie. Welcome back.
Hello. I don't know what just happened. I just heard a lot of Trump in my ear, so I said I'm going to get the hell off of this. Insane.
If it's any consolation, when you left, he went away.
So me.
You didn't know only you were that powerful, Julie, that you
I
can
was
make
going
that
to say,
happen all the time.
after the morning I've had from all of his little weirdo Twitter trolls, I assume they're somehow programming my brain now.
Yeah,
but yes.
I'm sure they're here too. So that's
I'm sure
great.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
So Tara, you asked me to start. Did you want me to start with my over it, or do you want me to start with this disaster yesterday?
Well, I mean, we can start with this disaster because I mean, I feel like it kind of all flows into each other. So
yeah. Well, I, like a lot of the country, was watching the news / watching the clips come in through Twitter and Blue Sky, and I'm like, wait a second. Is that a line of Tesla cars at the White House? And I was like, what is happening? And then I realized what's going on. So the Tesla stock and its value has plummeted. And it's because, electric cars, electric vehicles, and hybrid vehicles had been marketed to a lot of liberals who care about the environment. And all of the people who care about the environment hate Elon Musk for obvious reasons. So Donald Trump's trying to do Elon Musk a solid by inviting his cars to the White House and showing them off like a used car salesman, which is a little too on the nose. So here's the notes that one of his aides gave him with a list. Sorry. With a list of the cars, the models, how much they are. I mean, I thought they were going to have a young blonde woman come out and like do the Price is Right. It's funny and we laugh about it, but
it's really not actually.
It's not funny because while it is funny and we should laugh while we can, and we should, because they deserve to be mocked and ridiculed. However, while this was happening, an email went out to the Department of Education notifying them that 50% of their workforce will be laid off and that no one should be in any of the offices past 6. And no one was to go into work today. So while this is all fun and games, with the infomercial car show happening on the lawn of the White House, they're doing this at the expense of the American people. And I think at the end of the day, that is what everyone needs to keep in mind. And hopefully, I don't think we can count on the Democrats to message this properly, but maybe we can, that all of this is at the expense of the American people. All of this is to put more money in the pockets of Elon Musk and the billionaires in the form of tax cuts, in the form of corruption. I mean, this was blatant corruption happening at the White House yesterday.
Yeah. And let me add something, because I'm sure they're here, but I went on MSNBC this morning to talk about this Tesla stunt, among other things. And I said something that apparently proved to be so controversial, so incredibly offensive to the perpetually aggrieved MAGA movement, who live for nothing more than being
Oh
aggrieved.
my gosh. You made libs of TikTok.
I mean,
Oh
Congrats.
my God, that's Julie. That's big.
Whoa, okay, whoever the hell that woman is.
Oh,
Who are so upset that I said that perhaps the MAGA market is not what Elon Musk is aiming for, which they translated into, oh, you think we're all poor, you can't afford it. Well, my friends, let me give you some statistics. The average Tesla buyer, these are facts coming from Tesla, from your boyfriend, Elon Musk, not from me, makes a white person living in California, making over $150,000 a year. And I have all of a sudden all of these wackadoodles who are tweeting me saying, I can buy 5 Teslas if I want. I'm so glad for you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I hope you do, because that's the only way you're going to save Elon Musk. But the reality
does
is,
he ship to Russia? Because most of those are probably bots from Russia.
He probably does.
Yeah, that's true.
But the average person living in California who makes over $150,000 a year was a Harris voter. That's just a fact. Okay. To my deep dismay, the Democrats did not win working and middle class people. They won people making $150,000 a year or over.
Not to mention that they keep telling us who they are. They've been telling us no EV mandates and climate change is a hoax. I want to drive my big gas guzzling F1, fuck your feelings. I'm going to ride it right over your little EV.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, well, who says I don't want a Tesla? You think I'm stupid and I'm
Go get one. By the way, go
asshole.
get one. Let me tell you something. I bought an electric car. I leased an electric car, not a Tesla, a different one last week. And it's very nice. I hope you have a lot of luck finding chargers somewhere out there, because it's not that easy, because Trump has gotten rid of the EV charging grid that Joe Biden put in. So it's not going to be that easy for people to now own Teslas and charge them if they're driving in, especially remote rural places where a lot of Trump voters live.
You can't fuel them with manure.
But you know what, my friends? I'm so sorry that you're aggrieved when I'm giving you facts about who buys Tesla cars and who doesn't. Yeah. And it's not a question of whether you can afford it or not. It's a question of fundamentally wealthier people buy Teslas. That's how Elon Musk designed it. That's how he designed it, as a toy.
Yeah.
They're always so aggrieved. They're the biggest crybabies and snowflakes in all of the world. Like they need to have like a fainting couch that on wheels. So they can roll it around wherever they go. I mean, these are the biggest, y'all the biggest crybabies I've ever seen. I don't see you in the comments anymore.
Yeah. And by the way, little crybabies, it's like you're sitting there completely aggrieved all the time about everything. What the hell do you do with your, like, where's the joy in your life where you're constantly aggrieved about everything? Yes, I could buy a Tesla. Like I could buy 5 if I wanted to.
Okay, good. Great. Go to town.
Go do it. Elon Musk needs money. He's fucking going broke.
Right. Oh, because Emily, do we have
crap?
We have the clip of him with what's his face from Larry Kudlow, right? Is that right?
Call to action. Yeah. You giving up your other stuff? I mean, how are you running your other businesses?
With great difficulty. Yeah, I mean.
But there's no turning back, you're saying?
I'm just here trying to make government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud, and so far we're making good progress.
Just keep saying. Can I say something? Can I say something about this, please? Okay, first of all, he was like totally glitching, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? Have you guys seen the Saturday Night Live spoof of him with
Mike
Myers?
Now.
Brilliant, right? So he was glitching. That's the look of someone who just lost like $100 billion in their net worth because they're an asshole and decided to take this on and have like this whole fever dream of his to destroy our democracy and turn into some weirdo tech bro fiefdom that he wants. And now he's like immediately regretting that decision, right? I immediately regret that decision is what was that was the look on his face. And also he was thinking, wow, I spent $250 million of my own money to get Donald Trump elected. I wasn't supposed to be here now losing money. So you know what he's doing? He now is getting another $100 million taking another $100 million of his money and infusing it into Donald Trump's political operation. So that whole thing yesterday, that whole display, the Price is Right in QVC infomercial thing, that was a direct quid pro quo.
Oh yeah,
for Donald Trump and between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, because Elon needed the boost, Donald Trump needs his money, and here you have it. Yeah. It is absolutely infuriating. It's corrupt. It's laughable. It's hypocritical. It's pathetic. But it's also the reality we're facing right now that this is what the White House and the presidency has turned into. Donald Trump is Elon Musk's bitch when he needs him to be. And Elon Musk is reliant on Donald Trump and our tax dollars here that pay his companies and their contracts to stay afloat.
Right.
So it's
another example of welfare queening. It's just another example. I've been like, okay, let me use government property now to market my brand and market my cars because I can't do it on my own.
It's also illegal.
I'm so sorry, veterans and teachers and special educators and firefighters and park rangers. I'm so sorry. Your $65,000 a year job was too expensive, but I need to make another bazillion dollars right now off of the fucking White House and your tax dollar. So thank you very much. That's
Yeah,
what.
and
By the way, he was so
the best
ketamine
is
out. Reminded me of the teen. Sorry, you reminded me of the teen. Remember the Miss Teen South Carolina, and she was like, and
Oh,
the Iraq
yeah.
one and stuff like that. But like
That
he
poor
was so
girl.
out of his mind. Ketamine, like he sounded like he was a teen.
He's just
Miss America.
also, he's not articulate. I mean, this
No.
goes again to the point that we often make here is that Elon Musk is not that smart. Like, he's not
No.
stupid, but he's not like this brilliant, articulate engineer. He's not an engineer. He's not an inventor. He's not a scientist. He's not a linguist. So what we're
He's not a
watching is
cunning
just
linguist.
somebody who was born on third base and maybe further than that, born on third base from a family of some Nazis, and grew up in apartheid South Africa as a white man, broke the rules to enter the United States illegally and started a business. And he's just gotten very lucky, and he's been very crafty, and he's again now doing it on our dime.
Yeah, but I love how all of a sudden, all of MAGA, which has been conditioned since I was a Fox, which was, more than a decade ago when they started this I remember there was a whole thing dedicated to how Tesla was being bailed out by the Obama regime and the federal government.
Yes.
And Tesla was pure evil because Tesla was a welfare queen. So so all of a sudden, and the environment, and electric cars were all bullshit because environmental, who cares about the environment, and who cares about EVs, and who cares about climate change? All of that. And by the way, Trump just got rid of, as I said, the grid to build more chargers because Elon doesn't want Rivian and other competitors to actually have those chargers because he's already gotten his. So what's fascinating to me is after all of that, after that stunt yesterday, now MAGA is being told to go and forget everything they've ever been told.
Right.
Suddenly electric cars are fantastic. Tesla is great.
We're not going to buy them.
Tesla, go buy electric. Again, good luck finding a good luck finding a charger. Because I'll tell you, I was in Pennsylvania this weekend, in Monroe County, which is what Donald Trump won. And I had to drive, and I'm not joking, because as I said, I got this electric car. I had to drive half an hour out of my way to find a charger.
Wow.
So I don't mind doing it because I don't live there, but people who live out there, enjoy. I can't wait for you guys to bail Donald Trump out. But when I hear Elon Musk out, but when I hear consistently that I'm insulting MAGA voters by saying they can't afford a Tesla, what I said is the average MAGA voter is not buying a Tesla because the average MAGA voter does not comport with the average Tesla demographic. They don't. They don't.
Meantime, everything is more expensive. Everything is more expensive. Those cars are going to get more expensive thanks to the tariff today, no tariffs tomorrow, to tariff or not to tariff. Everything is more expensive. And the cost of living is rising. Inflation is going up. And they're selling $80,000 plus cars on the White House.
That are a piece of shit, too. Like people are dying in them. They're unsafe.
Melty cars.
Did you see? I don't know if you guys saw the co-founder of Apple, the other guy.
Yes,
I didn't really know him, but he was on I think CNBC talking about how terrible Teslas are and how duped that they all were, and how Elon's full of shit and that he's a total fraud in the way that he sold Teslas to get those folks to invest in them. And that he was like, it's the worst vehicle ever. It's not user friendly. He's like, I don't get it. And he was like, I'm an Apple guy. So user interface is important to us. And this is a piece of shit. I mean, this was just like a couple days ago. He was dead serious about
Steve
this.
Wozniak.
Yes, that's his name.
Because
the other Steve.
Because it was at one point, maybe within the last decade, a liberal affluent status symbol, right? If you had a Tesla and you lived again in Silicon Valley or in Manhattan, and you see more Teslas around here, than anywhere, or in what, if you lived in these liberal enclaves and you wanted to virtue signal about having an electric car, or you wanted to just be an early adapter, which a lot of wealthy people are.
You have to be on a wait list for the Tesla too.
Yeah, you have to be on a wait list for a Tesla. I have a very close friend who was on a wait list for a Tesla, bought a $110,000 Tesla. I forgot which model it is. She cannot wait to return it. She is so mortified that she is driving something that is allied with. This is not a diehard liberal, by the way, at all. This person actually, I don't even know who she voted for. but she is so mortified that people think that she's somehow endorsing Elon Musk that she is probably gonna, she said, turn this lease in early, and she said never again.
Yeah.
That's the Elon Musk market. Who does he think is going to replace that woman?
I mean, and the people who are like, oh, you know, liberals are the one who bought his car. Yeah, before they knew that Elon Musk was an asshole who was a Nazi like sympathizer doing all this crazy stuff. He was behind the scenes a lot on Tesla, and he wasn't. And that was also before he bought Twitter and decided to put all of his horrible viewpoints out there like a toy, because now he's like, oh my gosh, I've got this new toy where I can say whatever I want and people will like me. And so, you know, that was before. They are returning their Teslas in droves. So all of you people that are like, oh, it was the liberals. Yeah, that was before. It's like it was the new Prius, right? Prius used to be the one, and then Tesla became like the modern day new cool virtue signaling for the granola eating crowd out in you know, Marin County.
Well, and I mean, we just talk about also, in addition to the fact that it was, you know, that this all is blatantly corrupt. Personally, the image, the visceral image of the White House being turned into a freaking car showroom. I remember when the RNC was held at the White House, I was sick to my stomach. It was like watching her prostituted. I think of the White House as a female entity, right? I don't know why I just do that for some reason, but I felt like they dressed her up with like shitty ass lipstick on her, slapped on a nasty like tacky short skirt and drippy gold jewelry, and they paraded her out there like a freaking whore. No offense to whores.
Like Melania?
Yeah, exactly. That's how it feels when they do this shit. I mean, they do this with Air Force One too, where they use this our institutions, our buildings, our monuments as props, and it's disgusting. Like, as an American citizen, I don't care how you vote. You don't want to see your White House used that way as a fucking opportunity, as an infomercial. Like, it's that really offends me. And I'm sure that a lot of Republicans feel the same way, but wouldn't say it necessarily out loud.
No, of course not. And for the people who are trying to make the argument that, well, Joe Biden drove an EV truck there and blah, blah. Okay, here's the difference. There's a difference between showcasing innovation in America that is helping, you know, our climate, helping to keep up with the technology changes, American companies that are doing this, and showcasing that, as opposed to a fucking sales pitch with the damn paper, like a car salesman at a lot, trying to tell people to buy this product to help save my billionaire friend who helped me get elected because his stock is tanking, because, oh, he's working so hard for the American people now, cutting all of your jobs and ruining your livelihoods, you peasants, you parasites, which is what Elon Musk thinks of all of us.
Yeah,
so that
he did use that word.
I don't want to hear any shit about people saying, well, Joe Biden did it, completely different, apples and oranges, and you people know it. So cut it out. Stop rationalizing it.
By the way, we haven't even gotten to the part where Donald Trump said and tweeted out, or whatever social media platform he uses now, that this is illegal, that this boycott of Tesla is illegal. Wait a second.
Right.
The domestic terrorists.
Yeah.
Domestic
I
terrorists.
take my money and now buy a Tesla because otherwise that's illegal? Like, what?
And protesting Tesla is now considered a domestic terrorist act, which is fascism.
Right, but the January 6th insurrectionist terrorists are patriots.
Right, patriots. But and to that point, I want people to remember and remind themselves. And again, people ask us all the time, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? This downfall of Tesla has happened because a group of people started getting loud and saying, we need to boycott Tesla. Sell your Teslas. Stop using Twitter. Protest outside Tesla dealerships around the country. Like, these things are happening simultaneously. And while it may seem like not insignificant, okay, I don't use Twitter anymore, but you are contributing to a larger plan to take down this guy's entire business. Because it's Tesla. I mean, SpaceX is going to be harder because that's not something we access. But these things, we have the power. We have the power in our own hands with the things that we choose to do, the way that we spend our money every single day. And, you know, we can stick it to Elon in our own way. And so I say, keep it up.
Yeah, and I will tell you, when I went and got that other electric car, I don't know if I told you guys this. When I walked in, the salesman, before I even opened my mouth, said, "Let me guess, you have a Tesla." And I said, "Actually, I said I don't." And he said, "Let me guess, you wanted a Tesla." And I said, "I want an electric car." And he said, "We are making." He goes, "Virtually all the customers that are coming in here now are people who either had a Tesla, who said never again, not because of the quality of the car, but because they hate Elon Musk, or they were Tesla curious, but hate Elon Musk. So they decided to go for this other competitor brand." And so I said, well, that's me. Because actually, if the Tesla were a better car and Elon Musk weren't an asshole, I probably would have gotten a Tesla, because they're around and they're a better known quantity than the other EVs out there. But that's how they're making money. And so if Elon Musk wants to blame anybody for this, blame himself. You're an asshole. And that's why people are not buying your product. That's it. If you're a veteran who's just been out of a job because you've basically been told that you're a parasite, redundant loser, and you shouldn't work for the federal government, you're not buying a Tesla, because that's who fired you. If you are in the NIH working on cancer cures and you've been fired because Elon Musk thinks you're a parasite, you're not buying a Tesla. If you're somebody
Why would you?
Whose Medicaid is being cut off, or your Social Security is being cut off because there's not enough people to man the Social Security offices, you're not buying a Tesla. Because Elon Musk is an asshole and he's costing you money. So why should you put money in his pocket if he's actually taking money out of yours? That's why Elon Musk is failing. That's why Tesla's failing. And if
everybody knows how crazy he is. Everyone knows how crazy he is now. It's like when Tom Cruise fired his publicist and then started jumping on couches. It was like, oh, well, okay. All right. And that's, but he's done that in the most fascist, horrible way possible. But,
it's called the free market, right?
Yeah.
It's free market. I thought Republicans like that. That used to be what we preached in our economics. Free market. Let the market decide. The market's deciding.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And then we already have Donald Trump putting his thumb on the scale and playing games with the market all the time. But they're telling us too that they're doing that. They're saying that out loud, buying the dip and all the other fucking shit that they're doing, all the other tricks that they're playing up and down for themselves, the yo-yos. But the average American right now is not coming out on top. So that reminds me, where's all the winning that they keep saying that I'm supposed to cry harder about? Where's the winning? Where is one upside of all of this? Can someone please, for the love of God, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old? Where is your winning? So far, all I'm seeing is a bunch of people out of work and everything costing more and airplanes falling out of the sky. What am I supposed to cry harder about? How are you owning me right now? Someone tell me, please.
Well, they would tell you, Joe, because they said it, that actually, we're going to go through a period of adjustment and a period of pain. But in a recession they basically all but said the recession is coming, but it's okay. Put your trust in Donald Trump. Well, you know what? You can't put your trust in Donald Trump when you can't afford to buy groceries, when you can't afford to fill up the gas tank, when you can't afford to take a vacation to Disney with your family because you don't have any money, because either you've been fired or your benefits have been cut off.
Yep.
Or you're dying of the measles or other diseases that you thought were going to be addressed, but you're being told to take vitamin A instead and pray to Jesus or whatever they're telling people to do. So, that kind of brings me to my over it, because I'm so tired of being gaslit about this economy. I can't even take it. Like, I'm so fed up with the gaslighting. You can't gaslight the financial markets. That's why they're tanking. Right. Yep. We had a consumer sentiment report that was out today, and the CPI came in slightly better than analysts had thought. And so you'd think the market would rally on that, except they didn't, because at the same time, Trump announces tariffs on Europe and they announced reciprocal tariffs back. And then on top of that, the reason the consumer sentiment and inflation is coming in lower is because we're getting ready for a recession. That's why. Because of a recession. That's why inflation is cooling, as it does in a recession. Now, if you are really, really rich and therefore an average Tesla buyer, you might think that a recession is not so bad because long-term, blah, 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 we might need a correction. You know who thinks it's bad? The average person who voted for this president because he or she thought that the price of eggs was going to come down and happy days were going to be here again, and inflation was going to cool. And the reality is you cannot gaslight the economy. You can't. You can't, because either you have the money in your pocket or you don't have the money in your pocket. And
That's exactly right.
And the complete and utter disdain with which this administration and this president treats his own supporters by trying to convince them that this is good for them, that somehow he's going to bring back manufacturing. You know what? Maybe he will and maybe he won't. It's going to take years, because you have to apprentice for 3 to 4 years in a lot of these manufacturing jobs before you can even work there. So this is, if this ever happens, which PS, we're not that kind of economy anymore, the ramp up is going to be really long.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I feel is being lost on a lot of people. And it goes back to the Democrats like not seizing on this to push back on explaining that, all of this, we're doing this, Donald Trump told us we're all going to have to pay a price. We're going to feel a little pain, but in 6 months to a year, it's all going to be better because we're going to buy American. No. To Julie's point, first of all, it takes years to build the factories. Then you have to train the people to work in them. We've got tariffs on lumber and all kinds, and steel and all kinds of things.
What goes into
How
cars?
the fuck are you
That part.
Right.
You can't
Steel
even
goes
build
into
a factory.
cars. Right. You can't build the factory. So how's that going to work? Make it make sense to me. It doesn't.
Nope.
And then today I saw this morning, I happened to turn on CNBC because I wanted to see what Jim Cramer was going to say today. And I was curious to see what the markets were going to do while I had a plumber come this morning, which is kind of a funny story. I'll tell it in a second. Michelle knows it. But I was watching it and one of the analysts came on and used the example comparing the tariffs on steel in 2018, because Trump did this before, to today. They said back then when he slapped those tariffs on, that it cost $900,000 per 2 or 3 jobs that it may have saved. $900,000 to the average consumer for the couple of jobs that it saved. This does not work. There is a meme going around right now that shows what Ronald Reagan said about tariffs back in the 80s, because he used tariffs a couple times as a tool, which it's strategically done. They do have a purpose, not like this. And even Ronald Reagan was like, this doesn't work long term. They have to be targeted, because all you're going to do is have a tit for tat, and they're just going to keep going. And it's bad for everyone. Yeah, it is. But no one's saying this. Just like with what Julie just made the point about how the economy, people keep saying, it's fine. Everything's going to be fine. No, it's not. People are legitimately losing their livelihoods every single day, every day. Tens of thousands of people. Where are they supposed to get work now? There's not enough private sector jobs to hire all of these people, number one. Number two, what are you supposed to do in the meantime? What are the people who lose their Social Security benefits supposed to do? What are the veterans who are disabled supposed to do when they can't get their doctor's appointments and they lose their benefits, or the person who answers the suicide hotline doesn't answer the phone? I mean, I don't understand why. I remember when Democrats used to do these things where they had Paul Ryan wheeling out your grandma and tossing her over a cliff. And I remember as Republicans, we were very upset about that and how callous it was, and it was bullshit. It wasn't right. Blah, 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 blah. Go back to that, because actually it's true now. They weren't doing it before. It's true now.
Well, it was
Donald
a stepping
Trump
stone.
and Elon Musk should be wheeling. They should have imagery of them wheeling your veterans and your grandparents and your parents
Special
right
needs
off the
kids.
cliff.
Special needs
That's
kids.
right.
Like I worked as a paraprofessional for almost 7 years, and those children, they need those services. They need that early intervention, and they are so innocent in all of this, right? Clearly. And this is, again, not a partisan issue at all. Those kids, thanks to the cuts to the Department of Education, those kids, regardless of your politics, they're not going to get those services now. Who the hell wants that? Who's like, yay, let's leave these autistic kids to sit at home with, now their parents can't go to work because the kids can't go to school. So then talking back to your point, Tara, about the economy, like this, the whole vicious cycle, you're not putting money in the economy, you're not making any money, that there's no educators being paid to educate these children, and the children are being left behind. Like, this is all cruelty for nothing but cruelty. And that's why when they say cry harder, I want them to understand that they are the ones who are doing this to themselves. And yes, they're doing it to us too, but we are not going to sit down and just let it roll over us. We're going to stand up and say, no, sorry, Julie's dad, but fuck that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because to Julie's point yesterday, while the Tesla infomercial was happening, we got the announcement that half of the Department of Education's workforce was being eliminated. And it was like, I'm sorry, what? Just like I'm wearing my NASA t-shirt today, because we also found out that they cut the chief scientist's office in NASA and a bunch of the NASA scientists. What the fuck? Like, I'm sorry, Julie's dad, but this is so infuriating to us.
Yeah.
We are just selling our country out and dumbing us down to the point where we're going to be I would say we're already the laughing stock of the world now, but it's like it's happening in real time. Explain to me how getting rid of the chief scientist's office at NASA is actually making America great again. Explain to me how Elon Musk.
I'll tell you how, because Elon Musk wants that for him.
Oh, of course. Oh, yes, I know.
Program. That's the part that kills me is we are in service to one really rich, drugged up on ketamine, not particularly mentally, I think, stable guy. I'm not a psychiatrist, but he doesn't strike me as somebody I'd want to be spending any time with. And the part that everybody has to understand, this is all you need to know. Our stock market is tanking. The Russian stock market is going gangbusters.
Yep.
6 months ago, the Russian stock market was on its last legs, and our stock market was tanking. It was going gangbusters. And for anybody who thinks, oh, these are just rich people investing in stocks, no, it's your 401k, right?
40% of the American people have stock either directly or indirectly in whether it's your pension, your 401k, your IRAs. To Julie's point,
I mean, the pension part of this, people don't know.
Speaking of Julie's dad, I mean, I have parents in their 80s, like they live off of their Social Security and some of their 401k, right? They have to take that money out, mandatory disbursements, and they're watching it ebb away. I mean, these are real people, and they're not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination, and they're literally the quintessential middle class American family. You know, my parents never played the market like they were, you know, billionaires at all. They never invested. They never had, you know, they did what most people do, which is they put money in a 401k through their employer.
Yeah.
And what does that tell you about where we are right now? So when Donald Trump and Scott Bessent, or whatever the hell his name is, or Lutnick, are sitting there saying, you know, it's okay, trust Trump, trust the process. How do you eat on trust?
Oh, yeah.
How do you live on trust?
I'm reading the thing right now from CBS News. She asked, will Trump's policies be worth it if they lead to a recession? And Lutnick said, it is worth it.
Great.
Oh my God, he said that recently?
A lot of money to ride this out.
Did he run? Did he run on a recession? On making recessions great again? I don't remember that. That's so funny.
Yeah.
I really remember him saying that he would lower prices on day one. That he'd end the war in Ukraine on day one. Not, I'm going to have a recession. I don't remember him running on that.
Well, and also, I mean, it's going to be good soon. It's going to be better soon. I mean, while I look at the calendar, it is right. 2 weeks. I look at the calendar. It's March 12th. Okay. We're coming up on the 5-year anniversary of COVID, you know, striking the United States, New York City in particular.
I think it's today. It was like today or yesterday, right? When the world shut down.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th was our last day in school here.
So think about when he was saying, I've got it totally under control. It'll be gone. It'll be gone by Easter. Everything will be fine. Slow the testing down. All of these things. And what happened? 1 million Americans died. 1 million Americans died. And he says, I will take no responsibility at all.
Yeah, it's Joe Biden's fault, Michelle. Don't you know?
Yes,
right.
Yes. Just like this economy is Joe Biden's fault, even though by every measure, it was moving in the opposite direction. The envy of the world, the highest performing economy of all of our peers. And Donald Trump comes in and it starts tanking. And what do Kevin O'Leary and all those other freaking idiots, by the way, I'm very over Kevin O'Leary.
Oh my God, yes.
What do they say? Well, you can't blame this on Trump. He's only been in office since January.
He's the guy from Shark Tank, right? That's the Shark Tank guy.
He's Canadian. No offense.
Yeah, I was like, go back to Canada. I can't.
Seriously,
please.
we'll take the good Canadians. Like Dave Foley can
Yes,
stay.
yes,
Need to
please.
go.
I'll take Mike Myers.
So we'll keep Mike Myers.
I'll take Ryan Reynolds.
I'll keep Ryan Reynolds. But Kevin O'Leary's an idiot. When I was on that other idiot's show, who's by the way now banned me from his show. Thanks.
What?
Ouch. Oh yes, I'm banned. So I can come back and I'm gonna do my Mick Jagger. So I can come back and be an adult. I'm banned. What the fuck ever. I don't care. But Kevin O'Leary was on there saying, "Oh, inflation is going up because of Joe Biden," and I was like, "That doesn't make any sense because it was going down for the last 7 months of his administration. How can you say that it's Joe Biden's fault that it's going up now?" He wouldn't answer the question, and
because he knows you were wrong.
Exactly.
I mean, he knows he was wrong. You were 100% right. Again, this is the fault of the Democrats for not telling people. Inflation went like this at the tail end of Trump's administration because of his mishandling of COVID. It was at over 9% when Joe Biden took over. Okay. Yeah. Where was the inflation when Joe Biden left office? It was under 3%. And they say that 2% is about where you want it to be. It was at like it got down to 2.3% at one point. So everybody screaming about inflation is once again an example of the successful propaganda operation perpetrated by Republicans that had no pushback from Democrats because the American people actually believed that inflation was worse under Joe Biden than it was under Donald Trump. It was 9%, 2.5% under Joe Biden. Yeah. What?
And this is again where the Democrats are afraid to take a victory lap. They're afraid to brag on their accomplishments. I mean, every single one of those Biden economic, or I'm blanking right now, the Inflation Reduction Act, any of like the construction things that were happening around the country, there should have been a sign that said "brought to you by the Biden administration."
Wait a second, I saw one in my head. Almost,
I did that.
There was one near Syracuse that I saw because they're ripping down.
I saw one in Brooklyn, and I was like, last week, and I was like, really,
a little late. Right, it's a little late.
Right. It's the only one that I've ever seen is on Route 81 going north to Syracuse because they're ripping out all the highway and like rebuilding it, whatever. But like it should be everywhere. I mean, Donald Trump signed those stupid checks that he did not even have anything to do with. He put his stupid signature on it, and while it was terrible, and he should not have done that, it worked because people are like, Donald Trump gave me all this money, and unfortunately, we are past the point of decorum. Democracy dies in decorum. We're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to do this anymore. We have to get down in the mud and fight with these people. And there is a way to do it without becoming what you despise.
You know who's doing it well. You know who's doing it well is Bernie Sanders. So I say this as somebody
I know. It's like,
I'm not even ideological.
I'm so over Bernie Sanders.
I know.
Well, at least he's going out there. I will say that.
He's going out there. He's going out there. He's taking it to them in their swing districts, and people are showing up in droves. And so is AOC, and nobody else is. And so in the last,
like the next generation. I mean, the thing with Bernie is like the thing with Bernie, and people are going to be like Bernie in the comments, and I don't care.
I don't either.
He's a bit of a narcissist. He saw an opportunity and took advantage of it. And listen, I'm glad he's out there. I'm glad he's talking to people because people are starved for this message and people deserve to hear it. Okay. He's like a bajillion years old. There is a whole new generation of messengers that are waiting in the wings. And but for whatever reason, they're not doing it. It should be Pete. It should be AOC. It should be all the,
AOC is doing it. But I mean, where's Pete? Go on the road, Pete.
I know.
Well, they're all tooling up their own campaigns. Here's what I want to see. I want to see them, like AOC said, going into red districts. I want to see them walking around with Trump voters in their day-to-day that have been let go of their jobs, who got the fork in the road email, that, federal workers who said, oh yeah, America's going to be great again. And now, oh my God, my daughter doesn't have access to education. My wife doesn't have access to, a repro doctor. And I don't have protections at my job, and I don't even have a job, or I can't even fix my house because the construction prices are too high. I want Democrats to go into those districts and say, oh, you know what? I hear you. I have plans and solutions and fixes for all this, but you know who owns this? The Republicans. Your congressperson owns this. Let's look at how they voted. Let's look at what they've endorsed. You're hurting right now. You need to understand who is to blame. And the Republicans have a mandate not to go to town halls. They're not going anywhere near their constituents anymore because their constituents are rightfully pissed. That's where the Democrats should be. Everything you guys said, Pete should be going in there. But every Democratic congressperson, senator, governor, state legislator, I don't care. Go into those districts where those voters need to understand who's to blame.
And there's the district to be going into to doing this right now is New York's 21st congressional district, because it is the perfect microcosm of literally every problem. We're dealing with immigration and in terms of like what's happening with the farming industry in New York 21. So immigration is a huge issue. And now, cutting food supply things. I mean, this is screwing all of them. Then we're dealing with federal workers. Fort Drum, the 10th Mountain Division, is the biggest, largest employer in the entire area. We're also dealing with being just a few miles from the Canadian border. How much trade, electricity, tourism goes back and forth over that border from Plattsburgh to the Thousand Islands. It is the place that is being touched by literally every bad policy of Donald Trump's right now. And there is going to be a special election. As soon as Elise Stefanik is confirmed as the United Nations ambassador, Kathy Hochul will hopefully, set the date for a special election. And within 90 days, there will be one. The Republicans have not chosen their candidate yet. But the guy on the Democratic side is a farmer. He's a farmer.
A dairy farmer.
Yes. And here is the opportunity to go up there and listen, deal with the campaign. Don't deal with the campaign. I don't care. Go up there on your own, members of Congress or whatever other people. Go up there and spread the message, because those people, I'm telling you right now, because I'm from there, unemployment is a big issue as well. Rural health care is another big problem. Access to broadband. I mean, it is an enormous geographical district. And a lot of it is rural and a lot of it is underserved. So I'm just saying, that's a huge
town halls. We should bring these, you know what? We should bring the show and do town halls in some of these.
Let's do it.
I'm serious.
I mean, listen, I just saw somebody say Jim Acosta's, thinking about doing town halls. Like people like him and others, us, that have platforms and have the ability to speak directly to the people. This is what it's going to take, because we see, obviously, Democratic leadership can't shit and get off the pot, as my grandmother used to say. They can't do that. The legacy media is only a little bit every once in a while, gives us a little bit. Like last night, CNN did a couple really good stories on what's going on Aaron Burnett's show a little bit, probably because they're corporate overlords. We're seeing how much money they were losing too. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, this is bad. So we're going to talk more about the economy and how this is screwing everyone. So I guess they got permission to do that. But for the most part, it's going to be citizen led. This is where it's going to be, which is why we started to do this show, which is why we have combined forces. Michelle and I started Seneca Project, and then we became friends with Joe and Julie, and they're doing their thing. You've got Joe killing it. Julie's killing it on cable news. We've got our Substacks. We're all trying to do our part. We put out at Seneca, we put out a betraying the brave, talking about our veterans, put that ad out. Look, if Democratic leadership can't figure it out, then some of their PACs or the people that have the money, give some to us so we can place these in these things. We've got 4 or 5 ads that we could be running in New York 21 fucking now that would change people's minds, because a lot of those people are watching Fox News or they're listening to talk radio or watching these podcasts, getting fed propaganda, lies, and bullshit. They don't know what's happening to them. And when they start to see it, they need to see the counter argument, but Democrats aren't doing it.
Oh my God, thank you, Jesus, for that. Because where? I did 2 different fundraising Zooms for Florida special elections. One was Florida and New York. Florida 1 and 6, by the way. Matt Gaetz's district could be the greatest glow up in the history of time. The candidate there.
Panhandle. It's panhandle. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, very hard, uphill battle. Stranger things have happened. Hello, Doug Jones. But I'll say this.
Yes.
It was like pulling teeth. not Senator Doug Jones, the honorable, incredible Doug Jones. He came to the call, but everybody else was like, I'm sorry, I have a commitment, I'm busy. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm washing my eyelash that day. Are you fucking kidding me right now? These elections, these are three potentially, well, there are two right now. These elections are set in Florida, and you can't get off your butt. Where are my elected officials? Where are my other Democrats going? I'm going down there. I'm going to knock doors. I'm going to make phone calls. I'm going to show up, make sure all these people are registered, make sure these votes are counted. Where is Barack Obama? Where is Hillary Clinton? Where are they? Why are we the ones talking about this? And they're not. So don't send money anymore. Don't send money to those pimps in the middle who use all that money to make themselves rich. Like, what are you doing? People, please pay attention. Who are the people who are standing up and speaking out about the things that can actually make the changes that you are seeking? If it's not your elected officials that you count on, you're going to find those people here in places like this, because that is what we do every single week, twice a week, on Wednesdays and Saturdays, because this is a 5-alarm fire. You can't be like,
and I'll tell you something. Joe, I think about your home district, right? Where you have Congressman Tom Kean of New Jersey, who I happen to know very well, perfectly nice guy on a personal level, wonderful man. However, Tom Kean has voted moderate Tom Kean has voted for every single thing that Donald Trump has asked him to vote for. He has never once
their aid.
That's one. Two, he refuses to do town halls. And the number of people from his district, more than any other district, who reach out to me on Substack or reach out to me, I do a column and I don't live in New Jersey, but I do a column for one of the New Jersey papers, reach out to me and say, why isn't he doing a town hall? And I keep saying, you guys do a town hall. You show up, you call your neighbors, you do a town hall, you talk about what you want to talk about, invite him, put a cardboard cutout of him.
I'm doing it. Let's do it.
And those optics.
And the optics. And the point is, like, if you guys aren't doing it, we're gonna come to Westfield, New Jersey, or wherever the hell in the 7th congressional district, and we're gonna do it. But the bottom line is, who else should be doing it? And by the way, the people I'd invite are Cory Booker and Andy Kim, the two senators from New Jersey. They should be in that district. They should be doing town halls in that district.
Thank you.
And thank you. So who
got Andy Kim to come to my district was Sam Schwartz, my friend, gun violence prevention advocate and unfortunate survivor of gun violence because he lost his cousin Alex. But Sam got Andy Kim to come when he was campaigning. I love you, Andy Kim, but we're now in the muck. We need you. We need you. We need your eyes. Yes, it's just one district, but it is emblematic of so many corners of this country.
And it's not hard. Right. It's not hard. This isn't back in the day when we didn't have these things anymore. You don't actually have to go and deliver pamphlets into people's freaking mailboxes to tell them to come to a town hall or put an ad in the classifieds of the local paper a month in advance. You know how quickly you can organize this? You said everybody's on chats and email chains and text chains and on social media. You could organize this in a day, but it doesn't take a lot of effort, and people know how to do this, but you have to have the will to do it, because all of this is happening. Like New Jersey, my home state of New Jersey, right? Cutting half the education department is going to be devastating to states like New Jersey that have not only New Jersey, but lots of states, but New Jersey that relies on a lot of the, the funding from the Department of Education to help.
Highest rates of autism in the state of New Jersey, just so you know.
That's right.
Highest rates of autism in the nation.
That's correct. And guess where that money comes from? Also, New Jersey has the highest rate of taxes, property taxes. So, and that's not enough to take care of the special needs and on the school systems. I mean, New Jersey has had an unequal school funding issue for a long time. There's been consent decrees and all kinds of things with New Jersey. But it's just, you think that people in New Jersey aren't going to feel that? The ones that are like, oh yeah, let's own the libs, get rid of all that government waste in the Department of Education. Okay, wait until I find out that their special needs kid and their teacher and their programs that they used to have, they don't have them anymore. Like this is thanks to Elon Musk and Donald Trump. For what?
Do you know the highest rate of Medicaid recipients who are all about to get totally screwed? Because let's be very clear, that shit's getting cut.
Oh yeah.
The highest rate of Medicaid recipients of any congressional district in the state of New Jersey, and I hate to focus on New Jersey exclusively, but since we're talking about this now, is in Jeff Van Drew's district. Jeff Van Drew
South Jersey.
is a Trumper Republican.
Another lollipop guild guy.
So yes, exactly, that's exactly who he is. So the bottom line is, by the way, who do you think you're screwing here? You're screwing yourselves. That is a diehard Republican district represented by a guy who used to be Democrat until he flipped and literally said something along the lines of, and I think I'm only somewhat paraphrasing, I think this is almost literal, I will do whatever Donald Trump wants. I will do whatever it takes for Donald Trump. That's who's being screwed. The wealthier districts that you come from, Tara, and Joe, you guys come from much more affluent congressional districts.
Part of mine is definitely not, but yeah.
No, part of yours is definitely not, but I'm just saying.
Mine, part of mine too in the western part of the state. But Bergen County is a relatively wealthy county. It's right outside New York City. So yes.
Right. So I say that because you're both Joe, you're represented by a Republican, but Tara, your home district is represented by a Democrat. They're going to be harmed, but not as much as Jeff Van Drew's people.
No.
Right.
Isn't his district Atlantic City?
Yeah, it's Atlantic City.
I mean,
it's the Pinelands, it's Cape May. It's a huge geographically swath of South Jersey. And so, God bless.
Donald Trump decimated. I mean, the cognitive dissonance again, people voting against their own interests. It's just
Isn't that where Adriana
nuts. So
was Adriana killed in the Pine Barrens?
No, Adriana was
killed.
No, the Chechen. Remember that was
the Chechen, the Czechoslovakian interior designer.
Czechoslovakians.
Yeah.
Right?
The exterior shot for them exiting the highway they were on was my exit. By the way, I'm just going to say that. I'm just gonna
oh
say
my God, that is by
God.
far the greatest, funniest, most amazing episode of Sopranos, if not one of the best episodes of television ever. The Pineys, I believe it won an Emmy for the writing, and the Christopher and the ketchup packets and the foot and the snow and the
oh my God.
Christopher. If Michelle and I could do a plug for Christopher, a bar that Tara, Michelle, and I independently of each other have all discovered.
Oh yeah.
Is owned up. It's I think it's on 83rd in Amsterdam.
It's on 83rd in Amsterdam. It's right next to Fred's. It's called the Scarlet Lounge, and it's owned by Michael Imperioli. It is one of my favorite places.
He's there all the time.
I'm going to go there tonight. I'm going there tonight.
I mean, every time I'm in New York, we try to gather there. We made friends with two of the bartenders. They're amazing. The drinks are fantastic. And, Michael Imperioli is an incredibly talented actor and writer and a nice guy. And I got a chance to see him and Jeremy Strong together in a play last year on Broadway called Enemy of the People, which was extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary, particularly for the moment that we're in. And when I saw it, I said, they deserve to win the Tony, and Jeremy Strong did for it because it unbelievable. But yes, incredible. So anyway, so a little plug on our one of our favorite bars in New York City.
I did just want to bring it back just really quick to the Medicaid thing and New Jersey, because I've been reading a lot about filial responsibility laws, which basically, because it varies state by state. And this means essentially if your parents had to go into a nursing home or something, the kids would have to pay for it if there is no Medicaid there too. And New Jersey is on the list.
Yeah.
New Jersey is on the list.
What happens, and I have a great relationship with my parents, in case they're watching, Mom and Dad, don't think that I'm talking about you specifically because I got it. But what happens if you don't have a good relationship with your parents and you say no?
Mm-hmm.
Right. What happens then? That's right. I mean, a lot of these nursing homes
voted for Trump.
Right, are paid for by Medicaid, and they're terrible. Elder care in this country is a disgrace.
It's already awful.
It's just, a shame for the richest country in the world. But yeah, what happens then? I mean, there's so many things that are going on here that it's the muzzle velocity, as Steve Bannon would say, of shit that's going on. It's hard to keep up. And like my over it today was actually about the fact that we've got DEI being again blamed for a lot of what's happening in our federal agencies. Again, I love NASA, and my Substack, I talk about my love for NASA. Also, Elon Musk insulting Senator Mark Kelly, calling him a traitor because he went to Ukraine. Mark Kelly was an astronaut and a Navy pilot, and so is his twin brother. You can go to my Uncompromised Substack to see what I say about that. But this idea that DEI is going to be is just some kind of villainous thing that we've got to get rid of. this is impacting our kids every day. And it's not just our kids, but it's also like our livelihoods. But my mom actually sent me this story about these kids out in Iowa, speaking of red states, right? How they were supposed to be this fair, this black reading event for Black history. And all of these hundreds of school kids were going to participate virtually to learn about Black History Month and different authors and all these things. And one of these school districts in Waterloo had to withdraw from the event. Their little first graders weren't going to get an opportunity to learn about Black history because they were afraid that their school district would lose their federal funding because it somehow ran afoul of this new DEI bullshit. This is ridiculous. You know, I'm going to tell a quick story. When I was in elementary school in New Jersey, and I love where I come from in New Jersey, but I'm biracial, okay? And I was biracial before it became all the rage. There's lots of us running around now, but back in the 70s, there weren't as many, okay? I was the only person of color in my entire elementary school, in my entire junior high school, and there were only 2.5 Black people in my high school. And I say 2.5 because I was half, okay? So, and there was another biracial kid, so we made one. And then there was a girl from Africa, all right? And then a couple years later, 2 more came in. That was it out of my entire high school in Paramus, New Jersey. When I was in 3rd grade, okay, I was 7 or 8 years old. It was Black History Month, and we had a substitute teacher in our music class. Our substitute teacher came in and said, okay, we're going to teach some music today for Black History Month. And we're going to teach you a Negro spiritual. And she taught us a song that went, jump down, turn around, pick a bale of cotton. Jump down, turn around, pick a bale a day. Oh, Mandy, pick a bale of cotton. Oh, Mandy, pick a bale a day. Now, people may remember that song from The Jerk. If you guys ever saw The Jerk with Steve Martin, that's the song that he sings. It's a hilarious movie. But that song, okay, he was making fun of it. But this teacher was serious. Teaching a song about that slaves were just so happy as they wanted to be, picking their cotton.
Oh my God.
And there was a little dance and everything that she taught us. No context. No, like, no, it was like, so me at 7 or 8 years old, I go home because I loved school. And I went home with my mom. And my mom's like, what'd you do in school today? I was like, well, Mrs. Doherty wasn't in class, but we had a substitute teacher and she taught us a song. And I sang this song, did the little jump down, turn around dance, ignorant of how horrible this was because we didn't have anybody teaching us real Black history. And my mom, who had me at 21, so she was about 28 years old, 29 at the time. My mom said, I'm sorry, Tara, who taught you that song? Okay. My mom marched her ass down to that school and reamed the principal and said, are you kidding me? This is what you're teaching our kids? You think that slaves were happy picking bales of hay? What is wrong? Bales of cotton? What is wrong with you? So they were like, they didn't know what to do. But I tell that story to say this is what happens when you don't have proper historical context being taught to our kids. And it was like, and now we see this, that was back in 1981 or 82. This is 2025. And somehow now it's anathema for young kids to learn about Black history and the richness of the culture, but also that, there's context that, yeah, this happened to millions and millions of Africans who were brought here against their will. Like, what are we doing? And now the New York Times put out this list of words that aren't allowed to be used anymore in government documents, and they're being scrubbed from government agencies. And this list of words is nuts. It's everything from women to all-inclusive to the Gulf of Mexico to diversity, to racial diversity, to stereotypes. I encourage everyone to look at this list and some of the words that are now no longer allowed to be used or are being X'd out of government documents throughout our federal government.
Tara, to your point, Pete Hegseth and all of his wisdom got rid of references to the Enola Gay, which is the plane that dropped the nuclear bomb on Japan. because it had the word gay in it.
Because they're using AI. Brilliant Elon Musk and his Doge douchebags are using AI. And so they're searching. They're just doing search terms. And gay is up. Not can't say gay.
Yeah.
So Enola Gay popped up as one of the things to be eliminated because they're morons. So this is what we're living through every single day. And I'm not, I'm not a person that was always like screaming like racism. You know what I mean? Like I had a very different perspective. This now is racism. They are trying to erase racism. There's sexism, there's misogyny, all of those things. They're trying to erase the truth about what's happened in this country. You can admit that this is not a perfect country. We have a flawed history. It still doesn't mean that we can't embrace our diversity. That's what makes this country great. And these bastards are trying to erase that history. Yeah. And we can't sit there and let them. That's why we re-released American Girl. We talked about it on Saturday because they're trying to erase women too. They're taking women's accomplishments off of all of these things. Like what are we doing? So little kids now can't learn about Black history or women's history or the accomplishments, the amazing things that made this country great because they're so threatened by us.
Yeah. Really quick, Joe has a heart out. She needs to take off from us.
Oh, yeah.
So we can. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I just want and meanwhile they'll cry about groomers and indoctrinators in public education, right? Because we're supposedly teaching when we're not performing sex changes because God knows educators have nothing but time to perform sex changes. We're indoctrinating our kids to be furries who strip or some shit like that. I'm not even sure. Meanwhile, they're literally not just Tara, to your point. This is gonna feed right into what I'm over because it makes sense to combine them because they're not just erasing our history. They're empowering, emboldening, and celebrating and uplifting the worst of humanity, the misogynists, the sexists, the rapists, the racists. They are propping them up and giving them lofty and powerful status so that not only is it erasing the truth of our stories, but flipping the script. So now the people who keep us down and have taken from us look like the heroes. That is something that we are seeing, and both of those go hand in hand. And my over it is I am so over people not being outraged by all of the crazy. Like, I'm sorry, but like the headline, oh, Donald Trump has decided to cancel drinking water. And then you're like, oh, but did you see that Starbucks has a new spicy chicken sandwich? And it's like, oh, Donald Trump has announced that all women born after 1974 are now his slaves. It's like, oh, but by the way, did you see that Blake Lively thing? It's like, what are you doing? I don't need you to have your hair on fire 24/7 because God knows that is exhausting and not really good for your mental health or your well-being. But you can't just be like looking at your feed and like, oh, it turns out we've abducted aliens now and we've forced them into mining the minerals in Ukraine. And it's like, what? No, like I'm being hyperbolic, obviously, about a lot of it. But I mean, honestly, would any of that surprise you? Yesterday's shit show in front of the White House, which I honestly and truly, I know I said this before, I truly believe is sacred, special ground. Like I have so much reverence for that building that is our building. It was built by slaves, and it is even more degrading to them and their legacies and what they were forced to do to then have that building turned into a goddamn car lot. And for people to just be like, did you see that the Department of Education was completely gutted and now the special needs kids will be going without their services? Oh, what time is the pasta dinner? It's like, please, the more we are paying attention and still outraged, the less they'll actually be able to get away with. Because when we become numb to these things, when these things become normal to us, so much so that we just scroll through them as if they're just another story in our feed, then we lose the plot and they can continue to push the worst of their agendas. And like, that's what I'm over. And I get it. Not everybody can be or should be as dialed in as a lot of us are. But when you see something that rightfully outrages you, like the Zelensky fucking shit show, yes, you should stand up and say something. Yes, you should have conversations with your friends and your relatives and those Trump voters who are living in Medicaid paid for assisted living right now, who might be losing that imminently and still voted for Donald Trump and will tell you that Donald Trump made America great again. So that's it. I'm over people just like being blind and numb to the absolute craziest things that are happening right now. There's a fine balance. I understand that. but you can't just let it all slide by. That and again, Tara, about the the stuff that you brought up with DEI and those words being erased. We can't just let that slide by either. This is again a five alarm fire. And if you don't have kids, you don't think this impacts you, or you're older, or whatever, it impacts you. I promise you.
Yes.
You may not do politics, but politics does you.
100%.
Amen, Joe.
Yep.
All right, we'll see you later, Joe. Thank you.
Bye, guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
I do want to add one thing to what you said, though, Tara, because I actually want to speak to my Jews on this chat or people who are watching. This guy, whose name I can't recall right now, who was a big protester and a big leader of the pro-Palestinian encampments at Columbia, who now has been, who was a green card holder who was married to an American citizen. His wife is 8 months pregnant. They're expecting their first child next month. He has now been, I say disappeared, because who knows? He's ostensibly in Louisiana right now. He was arrested and sent to Louisiana, and ICE is going to deport him. I just want to say something. And Michelle, you live not far from Columbia, so I don't know if you had the same thoughts that I did. I was horrified by what was happening in Columbia.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I saw it with my own eyes. Like, it was
deeply
bad.
horrified by how Jewish students felt that they couldn't walk down the quad there without being harassed. A lot of them could not go to class. Ultimately, Columbia actually sent all of their students home and went remote, which if I were paying money to Columbia as a parent, I would literally have blown my head off for the amount of paying to have my kid have to go remote. A lot of these kids actually had no home to go to remotely, because not all of them live in this country. So I say that with all the understanding of what was going on at Columbia, and how my husband is a Columbia grad. He was horrified about what was happening. So this is, I don't come at this as some sort of free Palestine, from the river to the sea mentality, not at all. But I will say this, and I want to say this to all of my Jewish friends who think that this is great that Trump is doing this. This is the biggest violation of somebody's free speech rights that I have ever, since the McCarthy era, have we seen this. This man has not been charged with a crime. He has not even been accused of a crime. He simply was saying stuff that this administration does not like.
Right.
And he has been effectively separated from his wife. Apparently his green card is about to be revoked. I don't even know how that works. He's a legal resident.
Because they're using some obscure, Alien and Sedition Act or some
if
bullshit.
You are Jewish and you support this, you forget who you are, because believe me, they always come for the Jews. That's who's next. And if you, for any reason whatsoever, think this is a positive, I go back to that, Niebuhr line. First they came for the, trade unionists, then they came for the Catholics, and they came for the priests, the gays, and then, the Jews, and then ultimately they came for me, and there was nobody left to speak up for me. This is so unconscionable to your values, to the values of tikkun olam, which is a Jewish phrase that people who are Jewish might recognize. It means repair the world. That I am beside myself. And again, I don't agree with this man whatsoever. I find what he was doing repugnant, but it is not illegal. At least as far as I know, there's no crime other than some bullshit crime that they decided to dig up in order to fit a square peg into a round hole. And Tara, what you said is so relevant about the whole, things that are banned, things that are canceled, how you were treated as a biracial girl in the 1980s. This is even worse than that, because what happened to you was callous and awful, and was done out of ignorance, and it was done by somebody who truly, I think, was just not educated in history. Maybe she was a good music teacher, but she certainly never never cracked open a history book.
I don't think she was a racist. I just think that she was ignorant. She was ignorant. She thought
this is different.
Completely.
This is being done on purpose. And if you don't think they're going to come for you, if you're sitting there smugly thinking, okay, well, this guy got his, after what he did. No. And I'm so horrified by some of these Jewish organizations who are either keeping their mouths shut or actually siding with the administration on this. I am horrified as a Jew. I'm not even horrified as anything else. This is not, know your history, my God. Yeah. This used to be us throughout modern and ancient history. This used to be us, and you're sitting here celebrating this. So I'm sorry, I had to get that off my chest because for 2 days I've been stewing in it and stewing in it.
You're right, though.
Well, no, and I think that people confuse like the Republicans or the MAGA support for Israel as supporting American Jews when that is just not the case at all. When you have right, Elon Musk gave a Nazi salute on the day of the inauguration. Like
Twice.
Twice. They protect the speech of the Nazis, the American Nazis who rally outside Disney World. That's protected speech, but this isn't. And I think that's the biggest part of this that we all have to understand as Americans, and our freedoms here are so fragile because we have all had this mutual understanding and respect for the Constitution. And until that mutual respect starts to wither away, and then what matters, what doesn't, I mean, then we start to lose control. And the speech that we all must protect more than anything is the speech that we disagree with. It's not even ours. We have to protect the speech of those that we would, walk across glass to and crawl across glass to vote against. Those are the people that we have to stand up and protect their speech. Because
listen, I support Elon Musk's right to give the Nazi salute, by the way. I don't think he should.
Yeah, he can do it.
He's a naturalized citizen. I don't think you should just strip him of his citizenship and deport him back to South Africa, much as I would love to see that happen. I support his right to do that.
Right.
I support his right to do that. I think it's repugnant. I think it's disgraceful. I think he is a miscreant and a miserable human being. But if he wants to go ahead and give the Nazi salute, whatever. You're the asshole who's giving the Nazi salute. That's the biggest punishment you can have.
Right.
And people won't buy your cars anymore.
Yeah, people won't buy your cars, and you're losing billions of dollars because you're Nazi adjacent, if not a full-on Nazi. Those are the ramifications in life.
Of course. And with the freedom of speech, freedom of the press, there are limitations, right? I mean, but the screaming fire in a crowded auditorium, all that. But at the end of the day, when we start seeing people deported, put in a 4x4 jail cell for exercising these constitutional rights that we have all been granted here, that is a very, very dangerous place that we are in. And we are in that dangerous place. We are there.
Yeah.
And we can't, people are like, oh, I don't want to hear it. It's scary, it's scary. I'm sorry. Like, putting your head in the sand and pretending that isn't happening isn't making it go away. This is happening. And that is why we all have to continue having this conversation, which leads me to my over it. And then we will be, out of here. But is the stuff with Canada, talking about Canada. Oh, our 51st state, Governor Trudeau. Okay. This is so dangerous. And yes, it's funny. That's funny. It's not funny. And none of us should be joking about it anymore, because these people always will tell us what it is they're going to do. And they're telling us these are not comedians. They're not funny. They're not satirists. These are the people running the United States government. And I was watching a video on Betches with Sammy Sage and Under the Desk News, and they did a piece on this. And the moral of the story that they were telling from the point of view of Malcolm Nance was that people need to know this. And they said, what can you do about this? You have to keep talking about this. So I'm going to go through this really quick. So Trump is joking or not about annexing Canada. Okay. He's saying 51st, our beautiful 51st state, but he has expressed skepticism about the validity of the US-Canada border treaty, saying that
from 1908. It's from 1908.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Let's see. Howard Lutnick allegedly told Canadian officials that the US-Canada treaties are easy to abandon and that Trump intends to do so. Strategic plans for destabilization. Former U.S. Navy cryptology officer Malcolm Nance, who we all know here, warns that the Trump administration may have already decided to attempt an annexation or invasion of both Canada and Greenland. A timeline of 6 to 18 months from Trump taking office, starting with political and economic destabilization. Nance says that the strategy involves identifying and recruiting Canadians willing to betray their country and targeting young white men for a pro-Trump movement. similar to past MAGA trucker rallies, which if you remember that, it was the truckers who didn't want to get vaccinated and they got all, up in arms about it. And this is a parallel to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It's the same mindset. It's the same language. It's the same strategy. So if successful, it could collapse the US economy and spark civil conflict in both the United States and Canada. Because this is really about taking over North America. This is about Donald Trump and the Republicans wanting to invade Canada and take over North America, which then gives Russia more access to oil, their ships coming in and doing all kinds of stuff, which then has to do with NATO and Greenland. I mean, it's all very connected. This is not by mistake. This is not Donald Trump trying to be funny because he doesn't like Justin Trudeau. So why this matters for America.
Michelle, we have one of our commentators, Lori LB. She said that Nance said they want a techno monarchy instead of democracy. You are 100% right.
We talked about this
100% right.
Yep. So why this matters. Canada is deeply intertwined with the U.S. economy, energy, auto parts, trade, and diplomatic stability. The American passport will become less valuable if the United States starts acting like an expansionist empire more than it already has. This fits a broader authoritarian pattern to that point. Trump is isolating the United States from its allies, much like a narcissist isolates a victim in an abusive relationship. What do abusers do? They abuse you both emotionally, physically, whatever it is, and then isolate you from all the people that you trust and love, and then come back and tell you that you alone can fix it. So how do we prevent this from happening? Is public awareness to stopping this agenda. And when I heard Sammy Sage and Under the Desk News talking about this in a very real way, saying we all need to stop joking about this because they mean this.
Yeah.
That's real. And we all need to start talking about this. Like mainstream media, podcasts, whoever it is, we all need to start talking about this because it, as unfathomable as it may seem that the United States would invade Canada, do not ever underestimate the cruelty and psychotic nature of these people. They are psychotic, all of them, and they're monsters. And so this is a very real reality that we could be invading our neighbors who have been our neighbors, our peaceful neighbors and partners on this continent for hundreds of years. So talk to your people about it. If you're a fan of some podcasts, other podcasts, write in, tell them, hey, can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? Because we have to get the word out. So what I'm over this. I don't want this to happen, and we have to stop it.
And neither do our Canadian brethren. They don't want this to happen. It's not a joke to them. I mean, this whole thing about Canada, and Michelle, you saw, I was on a different podcast live stream yesterday, and there was kind of some jokey jokes about this, and I was like, I was stone faced because I'm like, this isn't funny. Okay, this isn't funny. There's times to kind of make fun of things and mock things, but this isn't funny. We're literally talking about invading a sovereign country, our neighbor. That would be like you living in your community and you've lived there for hundreds of years. Your families have lived there peacefully for hundreds of years. And then your asshole uncle takes over the estate and decides to take over your neighbor's property without their consent because your asshole uncle wants the pond and the nicer view that your neighbor has, and then threatens your neighbor that if you don't give this to me, I'm going to come and take it myself. It's nuts. Why would that wouldn't be okay in your little cul-de-sac in your neighborhood? Why the fuck is it okay on a geopolitical scale when it's the United States and Canada? Like, what? This is not okay.
Because he's watching Putin do this repeatedly in Georgia, and he's watching him do this in Ukraine, and he's saying to himself, well, what the hell?
Right.
Yeah. My hero is doing this, right? Like, why not me? Like, he's taking all the wrong lessons from the worst people on earth. And like, he wants to play with the big boys. He wants to play with Xi with Taiwan. He wants to play with Putin with Ukraine. Like, the big boys are doing this. So why not?
Country
he basically thinks that it makes him lesser and not competitive with those guys.
Right.
He doesn't do the same. It's a totally insecure little boy. Like, well, these really important people are doing this. Yeah, because they're criminals. Because
And he's not smart enough to know the difference.
Yeah, and this is not how things work in the 21st century anyway, but they certainly should not be how things work in the United States of America.
No, it shouldn't be. And he's surrounded by people who are feeding this beast. That is the difference. I just want people to understand. Anyone who's still out there that thinks, well, there'll be people there that stop him from invading Canada and Greenland. No, there aren't. Do you see the people who are in this administration now?
Joint Chiefs of Staff, all of it.
It's not the former CEO of Exxon. It's not the former Goldman Sachs president. It's not these people who have been, that are actually experienced and kind of be like, okay, we're going to put grandpa in the corner. We've got this. Don't worry. No. Those people are gone. The Stephen Millers and the Dan Bonginos and the Kash Patels and the Pete Hegseths and the Pam Bondis and the what's her name with the filter, Carrie Lakes. You know, you've got all of these people that are in charge now. Okay, so that's why it's important for all of us to be aware, raise our voices, and not let them get away with it. Because if people don't know, then you can't speak up about it and they can't get caught. And that's why we do this. And that's why we're glad everyone gathers with us.
And to our Canadian friends who may be watching, we love you. We are so mortified about what is happening. Just know that our hearts are with you because you don't deserve this. We don't deserve this. I'm sorry that this country elected a complete and utter asshole to ruin both of our countries. But we are with you. And I just don't want anybody to think that people in Canada to think that this represents in any way, shape, or form where the majority of Americans are. It is 25 to 30% weirdo MAGA base. And nobody else, including people who voted for Trump, want your country. We love having you as our members. We don't want you to part of our country, although I'd love your electoral votes if you were. But the reality is, we're very happy with having you as our wonderful neighbor with the longest shared border in the world, where we have lived in peace and harmony with each other for over 200 years now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? And like the Canadians stormed the beaches at Normandy with the Americans.
They went to Afghanistan for us. They weren't attacked on 9/11. We were.
I know, which is, I mean.
And by the way, so did the Ukrainians. Just so people know, Ukrainians died in Afghanistan for us. They're not even part of NATO. Where are, Ann Applebaum said this, where are their minerals? Where are our minerals going to them? Where's their reward? They didn't ask for us to pay them back. For our minerals. They didn't ask for anything. They just did it. And they died for us. They died for us. The Ukrainians did.
I grew up going across the Canadian border. I grew up 20 miles from the Canadian border. I've been to Canada a million bajillion times on the Thousand Islands and the St. Lawrence River. And Canada is a beautiful country full of really nice people. The jokes that Canadians are nice, they are. They're wonderful, wonderful people who care about their country. And, they like us, but, they don't want to do this. And they are very seriously preparing mentally and in other ways for the worst to happen. And listen, the Canadians are no punks, right? They're not going to just roll over because just don't be, Canadian nice. Yeah. Okay. But they're no punks either. They are patriots in their country too. And they're like, please don't make us do this. I mean, the Ontario PM was on or governor, whatever they call them, right? They kind of like the province. And he was on MSNBC. He was on CNN. And frankly, his messaging on this is better than the Democrats. They should take some notes from him. Surprising. But he's like, I know. But he's like, listen, I know this. We know this is not the American people. We know it's not you. Yeah. We know this is Donald Trump doing this to you and to us. So he's not some lefty like Trudeau guy. And so, and Ontario, I don't know if you guys have seen, but they've been putting out these real beautiful promo ads to show. I don't know if people have seen these ads. I was like, I've never in my life ever seen Ontario's your friend. We've been friends with you and we do lots of trade and we are important partners and we love you. I've never seen Ontario promo ads like that. I know. That's my point. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, they have to remind the American people why it's valuable for us to be friends. This is pathetic.
that they feel that they have to do this to justify our friendship as countries. Like, what? That's the world.
And they're probably
now.
afraid we're going to fall prey to the propaganda. Like you know what I mean?
That's why
like,
they did it.
Right. I think about when Russia invaded Ukraine, it was the denazification of Ukraine. And like, that was the beginning message of trying to get people on board with it. And, you know, I understand. I can't, it's the most embarrassing, horrifying thing. And I cannot believe we're here yet.
It is
here
embarrassing. It is embarrassing.
It is
to be American.
It's shameful.
With this man at the helm of the country. And, you know, I remember, and then we have to wrap it up, but I remember being in London right before we invaded Iraq. And I was at a party with a bunch of people who were kind of government adjacent. And they were looking at me like, do you really support this? Like, are you really, like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, no, I don't, blah, blah, you know. But that, for the first time, I was like, oh, wow. Like, our allies think we're nuts.
Yep.
And that is nothing. As horrible and stupid and misguided as the Iraq War was, that is nothing compared to the fact that we are seriously talking about invading not one, but two of our NATO allies.
Yes.
Greenland and Canada. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. Meanwhile, they want to tank our economy and turn us into some crypto techno state, and that's real too. And we're going to keep talking about that and making sure people are aware of what's happening on that too. But I will, since we've kept everyone, thank you for everyone who's been watching for an hour and a half. The time goes by so fast. I will save my plumber story for another day because it's actually pretty funny. Yeah, I will do. On Saturday, I may or may not be able to actually make it on Saturday. I think I'm on a train. So I should tell it now real fast, really quickly. It's kind of funny. So we have a shower that was dripping for a while and it got progressively worse and I couldn't take it anymore. So I called a plumber. Our normal plumber is on vacation for like 2.5 weeks or something. So I had to find a plumber somewhere else. So I used the Nextdoor app. I don't know if you guys use Nextdoor, but I use Nextdoor. And I found a plumber that was local because I didn't really want to go to lend the plumber, like the bigger companies. I'd like to try to support small businesses. So I found the plumber who was local and willing to come this morning. Now, I'm a woman, and let's just be honest, you don't always like to have repair people come to your house when you're home alone. I mean, I'm just being smart about this. And so my husband had to work today, and my parents had to take one of their cats to the vet this morning. So I was like, oh God, I have to be home by myself when this new plumber that we don't know comes here. And so I was like, okay, all right. So my husband was like, just be smart about things. And, if you get a vibe, then don't let him in. I'm like, all right. So I wore one of my pro law enforcement hats, not this one. And I wore my ex-Cal shooting and rifle club t-shirt that I had on the other day. And I know where the gun is. So I was like, so I opened the door. It's like 8:30 in the morning and I live in Northern Virginia. So it's a little country sometimes. I'm just going to say that. And I'm from Jersey. So plumbers in Jersey look a little different than plumbers in Virginia. So when I opened the door, I was like, I felt like Klan rally. But then within a couple of seconds in the introduction, immediately I realized that this was actually a really nice guy. That all of that trepidation and me being stereotypical all kind of went out the window. I didn't get the bad vibe. So I was like, okay. But looking at him, I would have been like, oh my God. My husband texted me immediately. I mean, he was tatted up. He had like long hair. He looked like, it was everything I was hoping it wouldn't be when I opened the door. My husband saw him on the Ring camera and texted me right away and said, are you all right? I said, honey, I'm fine. Within the first couple of minutes, he was greeted by our new kitty, Rafi. Rafi was very excited. And he goes, oh my gosh, my wife and I have 2 black rescue cats. So right there, I was like, okay, the guy likes animals. He's got cats. So then we started talking about the cats, and he was like, you know, he was very soft-hearted. So that's what I get. I mean, I was being prudent, but that's what I get. He turned out to be a lovely, lovely man. And I felt like, okay, those are situations where I like to be wrong. And I was in this case, and he was wonderful. And Rafi loved him. You know, the animals know. The animals know. So I didn't want to wear my whole get up this morning, but I was ready just in case, because, you know, I mean, I didn't think wearing my Seneca Project hat and you know, all of that was probably a good idea. So I wore my shooting club stuff, and, you know, it was great. So that's my plumber story this morning.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, you guys, thank you for sticking with us for so long.
Yes, he fixed it. He fixed it. Everything was good. It was an easy fix. Somebody asked, did he fix it? Yes, he did. It was not a big deal, and all is well. All right.
We're going to try to muscle Tara into joining us on Saturday morning, but if Tara can't,
yeah, I might be in transit.
We hope all of you guys do at 10 o'clock Eastern on Saturday morning for coffee. I'm losing my voice now, for coffee and conversation, where we just kind of chill out and drink coffee, although I've been doing that today too, and just talk about the week. So hopefully you guys will join us for breakfast on Saturday, 10 a.m. And we will see you back here next Wednesday for another episode of Over It. Bye, everybody.